All right, we are live on the Week 17 edition of the Halftime Hits, brought to you by Broadway Sports Media. Check out all of our great content at BroadwaySportsMedia.com. As always, I am joined by my co-host of the Coach's Corner podcast, Ryan Watson. You can find him on Twitter at Ryan on Broadway. You can find myself, Jonathan, at JB on Broad. Titans up 17-9. It's one of those, they're playing for the division here, but at the same time, it kind of took a little bit of the edge off when they clinched a playoff spot before the game started. So I think most of the people here at this point are really focusing on the personal records, the chance to get to 2,000 yards for Derrick Henry, the chance to get to 1,000 yards for A.J. Brown and Corey Davis. Ryan, what did you think of the offense?
It's my thought of them every week that the only team that can stop the Titans is the Titans. I mean, the one drive that really didn't go well for them was when they had a busted incomplete pass. Corey Davis drops one early on, a toss play that just didn't work. J.J. Watt blows up, and then a penalty. So it's just if this offense can stay out of their own way, they're going to score points, and they've been doing it all season. So there's no reason to think that that's going to stop at any point in time. That's very much what's going on today. Kind of I don't want to say lackluster day, because anytime you get a 52-yard touchdown run out of Derrick Henry, it's not lackluster, but this 181 yards total offense in the first half, just kind of, it feels like it's just they're feeling things out, trying to play safe. Maybe, I'm not sure, but it's definitely working when they're staying out of their own way.
Yeah, they had a little bit of a slow start, and it's kind of hard to shake that absolutely is how it started, with Corey Davis dropping a pass, only putting up one hand early on. So it took a while to get going, but their last few drives, you've kind of seen that number one offense really start to get going again. At first, I know I put out on Twitter, it looked like the Titans of old, where the defense was making a couple of plays, and the offense kept shooting themselves in the foot. But I see here, the only question is Brooks Reed elite. That's really a tough question to figure out. But regardless, getting some actual pressure, they finally have changed up their strategy. They're bringing pressure. They're manufacturing some of that pressure, not just sitting back and getting carved apart. You're going to give up some plays as we've seen, but at the same time, you're giving yourself a chance. You're not just waiting to die, which is pretty much what this defense has been doing for the past half a season.
Let's not get twisted though. Deshaun still had a lot of time today, but he's seeing some ghosts. Like, what's typically Deshaun Watson's problem is that he feels some fake pressure sometimes, which kind of plays into teams' advantage who don't run a whole lot of pressure. But the Titans are manufacturing some pressure to try to get to him, and they're getting to him. And Landry's played great as far as what I can tell so far from the edge, running down Watson, not letting him get out on the edge. There've been some open plays, but I think overall the coverage has been pretty good. But yeah, it's very positive to see that. I know the box score says 2 sacks. I think it's 3 sacks. Not really sure. Well, maybe they'll fix that at the end of the game. But I think JG was telling us before the game they may have more sacks they've had the last 4 games just in this one game. So that's definitely a positive sign and something you love to see, because that's the thing with this defense is they can get pressure like this, like we've been talking about. The net coverage is not as important because the coverage hadn't been bad, but they're still hitting their spots because he does have a little more time than you would like for him to have.
Yeah, I like the coming from Joe Kerr there from Facebook. I like the Dollar General Brooks Reed. That's our Dollar General Clay Matthews rather. That's got to stick. But it's one of those. Look, we're getting called out here that a couple weeks ago we said that Henry wouldn't get to 2K. I think my stance was getting to 2K doesn't necessarily help this team win in the playoffs and win a Super Bowl. I actually still stand by that. I'd love to be in a position where this was a situation where he was sitting regardless of records because everything was sealed up, because I think that would be more valuable to this team that hasn't had any sort of a break since week 4. But hey, we're here. You're this close.
Yeah.
Go get it.
I'm here for it. And here's the thing, Simp. I understand. Yes, we did say that because that's also because my football brain told me they weren't going to need this game, that Henry is going to be sitting out of it, and that they were going to have the South already wrapped up. And if Houston would have taken care of the Colts, at least in one of the 2 games they fumbled away to them, that would be the case. So yeah, I was kind of thinking that the Titans wouldn't be in a need to win to clinch the South situation here in week 17, but here we are. And I'm all for it. He's 110 yards away, and that's what, 2, maybe 3 carries from Derrick Henry if he can really hit the outside again. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I mean, at some point he hits another big one here, and you start to wonder, hey, is this one of those crazy days where you're not talking about 2,000, but you start looking at what that actual record is? Now that's stretch goal here. I don't think that even comes into the conversation, but one more big one and they get the ball coming out here, and then things start to get interesting. You start to wonder, because I mean, we talk about A.J. Brown. It seems every single time that he goes down, he's only a few yards away from getting to 1,000 yards. Right. Corey Davis only a couple yards away from getting to 1,000 yards. I'd love for the way A.J. Brown, every time he gets tackled, that ankle gets turned.
Knee, ankle, yeah.
I would love for it to be a situation where you get A.J. Brown those yards, get him that personal milestone, and then sit him. Like, there's no reason to get any more hits on that ankle.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's just kind of interesting. I've got a good question here, and just kind of where I was going to go with my next thought here is what's more the likelihood, what is going to happen more, Corey Davis, AJ at 1K or Derrick Henry at 2K? I think I joked during the first half that I think that AJ, I mean, if you look at the yards, AJ and Corey are closer when it comes to yards, obviously. But I think that with the way the Titans run their offense, the more realistic probably is Derrick Henry, because just that's how they roll. And like I said, he breaks off one more long run like that, and it's more than doable. I mean, it's because here's the thing, even on some of those shorter runs, he's had, I think, 3 or 4 runs this game where he has had 8, 9, 10 yards. He gets 4 or 5 of those, and he's right there. So, I mean, I don't know. I think that the way that it's going, AJ, the way he's been kind of gimped up, I think Corey Davis may have the best shot at getting 1,000 between those two, but I wouldn't count Derrick Henry out getting 2K for sure.
Look, if you're one of these guys that wants the milestones more than anything, then you were really hoping that touchdown was called a touchdown there at the end.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, let me just say, it was asinine. I started to question myself. I thought it was crazy. People saying that was close. It seemed pretty clearly out. It wasn't even they called it a touchdown on the field, so therefore, or they called it not a touchdown on the field, so therefore it'll stand. There's no clear evidence. I thought it was clear evidence.
Talking about the Cooks, yeah.
Yeah. His foot was clearly out. That was asinine.
It was closer than I'd have liked. It's one of those where it's close enough to where I've like, well, we've been screwed by less before. So.
Yeah. So I think if you're looking at what it's going to be, with it being a close game, that makes them all fairly likely. I think that the receivers, that can happen in one catch for both of them. They'll get their opportunities. If the Titans pull away, I think Vrabel will, at that point, it's like he's done in most of these situations. Hey, we're going to give you one shot here. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. We have bigger goals than these milestones. That said, the one thing that we are downplaying here, and this may be the biggest thing of all, because it was talk of the town this week, and that is, what kind of speech is J.J. Watt giving in the locker room right now? And really, is that just going to inspire the Texans, a 4-win football team, to come out here and not be a 4-win football team? Because J.J. Watt's speeches are so valuable at this point that we should really credit how fired up these teams are going to come out and just inspire them to beat a playoff team. I mean, that's the real question.
I expect more video cameras to be on J.J. Watt than anything else. Titans are going to be out 3 touchdowns, and they're going to find J.J. Watt. And look at how intense he is and how he's studying this game. He's really motivating his guys. It's just the speeches or whatever. And you saw that we talked about this on the Coach's Corner too, where you see some of the tweets coming out afterwards where some of the guys were like saying, it's just JJ bluster. They kind of know what it is. I mean, I think that at this point in time, maybe his shtick may be growing old in the Houston locker room as well. And if you need it this late in the season to motivate a 4-win team, like you said on the show, I'm sorry. It's not going to be a good look for you.
I see Simp Biscuit there. Still love the name.
Love the name.
You get the division banner if you win this, and that's correct. But if you lose the division to the Colts, do you not have a right to still put a banner up? Because if it's the Colts, I mean, you might as well still put a banner. I mean, you have a division or conference finalist there, so you can just put it in there because you were in the running for it.
A little Colt shot there, yeah. But no, I definitely want the South. I mean, I've wanted that more than anything else. I think I said during shows and I think in articles, whatever, is that I would much rather have the South than any milestone. But if you can have a chance to wrap up 2 or 3 of the 4, then that's perfectly fine with me too. And you're close enough now that it's still. But let's point this out: it's 17-9. Right now as the game sets, and that's technically a 1-score game. I mean, I don't want to sit here and talk like the Titans have definitely got this game wrapped up, because I've seen crazier things happen. They have to come out here, they get the ball first, they've got to drive down, and they've got to get points right away to really keep their shoe on the neck of the Texans and kind of keep this game in control. So I don't want to get this loosey-goosey feeling that we've got going on and talk about milestones like this game's wrapped up, because it very much is not. And the Colts are running away at this time with that Jacksonville game. I think Jacksonville just scored late to make it 20-7, but they're running away from that game at least more than here. So I don't want to sit here and think, well, the Titans have got this wrapped up, because they very much do not at this time. They have to come out here and still play football.
Yeah, I mean, and for all intents and purposes, you're sitting here and you're playing this game not for getting into the playoffs, but would you rather face the Ravens, or would you rather face the Bills? And the thing I'd say about the Bills is are the Bills scarier, or is the opportunity of you have to go play another snow game scarier? Because the way this team operated in the snow, I don't care who you put out there. This team wanted no part of that.
I think you have to do all you can to have a game in Nashville for the playoffs, the first round, regardless of what the opponent is. I think that ups your chances. I'm not even talking about home field advantage. I'm just talking about the weather. I'm talking about the situation, having them come in. Plus, I said, just kudos to you. As you've said multiple times, the Titans match up with the Ravens really well, and they're a problem for the Ravens. So I would like to see the Ravens, to be honest with you, if you're telling me those 2 teams. Plus the Bills, hot right now. Even their backups are scoring multiple points on touchdowns on people.
Yeah, talk about a letdown game. We're talking about a game here that the Titans, if they lose, they may not get to host a game, but they're still in the playoffs. I've talked about how the importance of a home game in this 2020 season, not as important as years past, but you could be Miami here, which is you're hoping for a Jacksonville team to win a game
Jacksonville
for you.
Miracle.
Good luck. That's
Good
almost
luck.
like being a Jacksonville fan and hoping for them to win. And that's not going to happen. So it's, they're in a good spot here regardless. The teams are going to be tough. And yes, you may face a tougher team than Miami, but the AFC is loaded regardless. You're going to have to earn it. And if you're talking about football as a game of matchups, you're taking Baltimore for many reasons, regardless of where that game is played, because of the way this team matches up with Baltimore. Now, it is hard. And the thing that scares me is the just playing the odds. It's hard to beat a team 3 times in 12 months, regardless.
Yeah.
It is.
Both teams are scary. I mean, it's the playoffs. They should be scary. I mean, especially when you have one of these middle seeds going against each other, whether you're the 7 versus whatever and the 5 versus 6, all those good things, 4 versus 5, excuse me. I mean, it's going to be tough matchups because you're right there in the middle. They're about even teams. You've said that. I mean, obviously Buffalo, but between the two, I mean, the way Buffalo's playing right now, Ravens are hot too. I mean, but let's get the home game for the Titans. Let's bring this all home, but let's take care of the Texans and let's end the regular season on a win and build on that going into the first round of the playoffs and build from there.
Yep. Now, just to wrap up real quick here, got one question. Will Nashville have fans in the stadium for a playoff game if they win today? Unless something changes, yes, they will have a limited number of fans in the stadium. That's how it has been for a little while. So now, and COVID is prone to changes, so you never know what could happen. But as of right now, that would be the plan. And that'll do it. We're going to wrap it up here for the last regular season edition of Halftime Hits. Next time, it'll be the playoff edition. We'll probably be about the same, but still bring it in. So appreciate you joining here. As always, you can check us out at BroadwaySportsMedia.com. Check out Ryan and myself on the Wednesday edition of Coach's Corner podcast every week. You can check him out at Ryan on Broadway on Twitter, myself at JB on Broad, and at Broadway TN, just for the Broadway Sports account. Appreciate it, guys. Enjoy the second half.